My name's Terry Cotrier. I live here in New Albany, Mississippi. I've written a couple of books. One of them is Help Me Understand. It's based on the fact that we all face dilemmas in life that we don't understand why they're happening, what we need to do, those kind of things. And it covers, I think there's 12 chapters, something like that, different areas of life. And then one of them is how to be a happy church member. I find a lot of people that are church members really aren't happy being a church member. But there are some keys where we can be. And so that's what the book is about. I've pastored for 47 years, so I've learned a little bit in that experience. And hopefully that experience got translated into those. I've also been on a mission trip every year for the past 40 years, except 2 during COVID. And that really has shaped me.
We really enjoyed your speech today.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to hearing about your books and upcoming book review.
There you go.
Thank you.
All enjoyed a wonderful lunch. They just outdo themselves, and that's our Union County Master Gardeners. Let's thank them for a very nice meal today. Always so nice. The food, everything was lovely, just perfect. And we appreciate it so much. It's fun to come and always fellowship and always eat too, right? That's a new thing. And we're excited this morning. We're going to have our guest speaker is Dr. Terry Cotrier, and he is his claim to fame with me is he's a retired preacher from Inglemark Baptist Church. That was my home church a long time ago. I'm now First Baptist, but my sister goes there, and so I know the fine work that he did there. And we're going to hear about, and he's retired now, but he has spent time on the mission field, various places, and so he's going to give us a good journey down where he's been and tell us all about it and tell us about his mission work. So with all that said, let's welcome Dr. Terry.
Okay. I'm so impressed. I had somebody ask me, how many people are going to show up to hear you? I think Dale's coming. Let me just tell you a little bit by way of introduction, and then I'm going to kind of go through where I've been. Since 1986, 40 years ago, that's hard for me to believe, I've been on a mission trip every year except 2 during COVID. Most of those are international, and I brought a few things. Mercy, you can ask Dave, I've got watts of stuff in the house. But just to kind of have a little visual aid here about some of the trips. What I'm going to try to tell you about is not just the mission trip per se, and that's exciting, but also something about the countries where I went to. Because I found every single country I've been to is different than I thought it was going to be. Oh my goodness. In a lot of different ways. So, anyway, I'm gonna go through and do that. Then at the end, if you have any questions, we'll have a little Q&A. How's that sound? Okay, who's got a watch that can wave or throw something at me if I go to? Okay.
What time do I need to go?
I don't know, she'll be hollering in 5 minutes. Okay, 1986. My dad came to me, I was pastoring in Biloxi, Pops Ferry Baptist Church. We had just built the building, we were seeing things happening. And my dad came to me and said, son, I'm going on a mission trip to Brazil, you need to go. I said, Dad, and at the time, we were below the poverty level. I'm serious, we were. When you pastor, church starts, there's, you gotta build a building, there's all these other things for money to go to besides the preacher's house. So anyway, I said, Dad, there's no way. He said, I'm gonna pay for it, you need to go. I said, go, be gone for 2 weeks. I wasn't sure, but anyway, long story short, I said, okay. And we hauled off and went to Mataba, Pará. I'd never heard of Mataba, 350,000 people. Belém is the biggest city in equatorial Brazil. It's right on the mouth of the Amazon. This is about 450 miles southwest of there. But it's on, there are tributaries to the Amazon that are bigger than anything we got in this country. And it's on one of those tributaries. Okay, so we went. Let me tell you just, this is what the church gave me. It's just a clay pot, and it's got a place I can save money in here. I just never have. It's one of those things you have to break it to get the money out. The church we were assigned to, there were probably 25 of us, and my dad and I were assigned to a church that had been started just a few years before by a female. Her dad was pastor down in southern Brazil around Rio, and she felt the call to go up to northern Brazil, which is Amazonia, and start a church. And she just went, didn't know anybody, just went and did it. By the time we got there, they were running about 70 people. Now when she went, she was single, but she met a guy, and they got married, and he became the pastor of the church. So by the time we got there, he's the pastor. Now she is the first lady. You can call her what you want to, but she's sharp as a tack. One thing we would do during the day, we would go around to people's houses, and I remember, and talk to them. People were real open. I'll never forget coming to the first house, and there was no wooden door there, just a curtain. Now we're in equatorial Brazil. I mean, it's not gonna get cold. But I stood there and I thought, how do they know I'm standing out here? And all of a sudden the lady next to me started clapping. And that's how they knock on the door. You go to a door and you clap. I thought, well, that makes sense when you think about it. All the houses were made of wood that we went to. But when I say wood, I never saw the first knot in anything. They've got some of the greatest wood anywhere in the world. And if it has a knot, I don't know what they do with it. Throw it out or something. But anyway, another thing about it, schools, they had, like elementary schools, they would build a building big enough for just 2 grades. And so in the mornings, 1st and 2nd graders would go to school. In the afternoons, 3rd and 4th graders would go to school. And at night, from 6 to 10, the 5th through 6th graders went to school. And you're sitting there thinking a town of 350,000 people. And I was thinking, how safe would that be? Now, we were up past 10 sometimes, and you'd see these kids walking home 10 o'clock at night. I obviously they saved money doing that, but there was a certain, I don't know, protection they gave those kids. I never heard of anybody's kid being abducted or anything like that, walking home at 10 o'clock at night. They were very open. My goodness, we had packed out places. I mean, the church was packed out. Every night we had what we would call a revival service. Except one night, they had a mission. I mean, this lady she was driven. She taught them. I mean, most churches running 70 are not thinking, let's go start a church. But they went an hour outside of town. There, they have a lot of plantations, they call them, where people just work on the huge farms. And they would have a village where the people lived. And she'd gone out there and they had built a building for the church. And we went there to have a service one night. And we got there a little early. I started to say banging on the doors. We went clapping. But I went in just to get an idea. They had a little bench about this high off the ground. Now you do realize people there are shorter than we are. And I figured if they got real friendly, they could get 70 people in there. And I thought, there's 150 people in this village. If you get 70, in America, you're doing real good. Now, one thing I also noticed, they had 3 windows on each side. And when I say windows, I'm not talking glass. I'm just talking cut a hole out in the side, okay? That night, we had 150 people. I don't know, maybe we're the only show in town. There were 60 people looking in the windows. When I got up to preach, I'm here, there's somebody right there. I mean, I kind of like to walk around a little bit. It was just crammed full. And I also remember that day, we went out, got there early so we could contact people. There were like 6 people in high school, 6 kids in high school that took off school. Can you believe such a thing? They went with us out there to make sure we could do it. I got the book because, man, one thing I learned on that trip, there are places in the world that are more open to the gospel than the United States of America. I'll just stand on that. We are blessed here. We really are. You don't see me moving to Brazil, but there is an openness there. Okay. Let's fast forward a little bit to, if you remember, the wall fell in Eastern Europe, 1991. Okay. In 92, I gotta show you this. Guaraná. That is the national drink in Brazil. It's a soft drink, but they just think it's the world's best stuff. And it's not bad. I drink it when I go down there. But, and they also make beer. You know, here, Coke doesn't make beer, and beer companies don't make Cokes. There, Guaraná makes everything. So, you know, I remember the first night in the motel, you know, they put stuff in the room, and if you drink it, you pay for it. Yeah. Well, we knew about Guaraná, and they just grabbed what he thought was a Guaraná. I said Guaraná. He poured it out, and all of a sudden, I'll never forget, I was half asleep. I was dead tired. He said, man, look at the suds on this stuff. And then I heard him spewing. Oh my goodness. Anyway, and I remember coming up saying, Dad, you just bought a beer. Okay. We went to the Ukraine. Obviously, it's been in the news, but no, we went in 93, 2 years after the wall fell. And I was a little apprehensive. I knew enough to know when they went to school, we say the pledge. You know, I guess I don't know. We still say the pledge.
No, they don't do that.
We don't say the pledge anymore. Anyway, they had a little thing they would say, kind of like we said the pledge. And part of it in that little thing they would say is, there is no God. I mean, they were under communists for 70 years. But that's what they would say till the wall fell in 91. When we got there in 93, it was interesting to me. The principal of the local school, we were in Rakitna. It's a village outside of Chernovtsi, which is 1 million people. You know, there's cities all over the world we've never heard of with 1 million people or more. So we're in the village, and the principal of the school came and got me and wanted me to come speak. Now, she knew I was a missionary. You know, I wasn't just American, I was a missionary. And one thing I found, those people knew what didn't work. They knew communism didn't work. They didn't know what worked, but they knew what didn't work. And so, I mean, and no, you can't do this or that, anything like that. To be frank, to be honest with you, I've been all over the world. The hardest place for me to get into school is the United States of America. And that's all it is. So anyway, we talked, the church, you might not know this, but up until World War II, most churches in the South, if you see an old wooden church, it has 2 front doors. And the reason was the men went in one, the women went in the other, and the women sat on the left and the men sat on the right. That's the way the synagogues were when Jesus was alive. Because, do you remember the passage where it told women, don't talk to your husbands during the service and all that? Well, that's because they're on the other side of the room. I'm serious, they're on the other side. Don't go talking to them, they're over there. So anyway, that's how it was. The choir was probably 80% men. And when they sang, you could hear them the next county over. My goodness, great voices, really were. Now they had been persecuted. There were people in that church, anybody that was a male adult 40 and over had spent time in Siberia just because they were a member of that church. Some of them didn't come back. Now, if you wanted to join a church, you said, I've got Jesus, it was 6 months at least. And the reason was they waited. They wanted to see if you were some kind of KGB agent. And then that just kind of blew your mind. Now, they had a baptismal service when we were there. It's so cold there, they only do it during June. And what they do, all the people put on a robe and walk through town. So everybody in town knows you're joining this church and you're going to be baptized and where you stand. And if you're not willing to do that, what was interesting to me, we had services from 8 till 10 every night, 2 hours. Now these are basically farming people, and they're going to be up at 5:30. And I thought, well, that's kind of late. The preacher, it took him about 3 days to figure out what we were doing really mattered. He would grab us and take us to everybody he knew after church at 10 o'clock. We weren't getting in till midnight. It was something. Medical care. I remember we stayed with a deacon and his wife. They had 3 or 4 kids. They shuffled the house around so we could stay. She, one night, had this big gash on her arm. I don't know what she had done. She had nothing to put on it except rinse it with water. And so I had some antibiotic ointment, and I just gave her the tube. That was the proudest woman. You'd have thought I'd have given her $1 million. everything they had was free, they just didn't have it. That makes sense. They had one store. I did go in the store one time. 3/4 of the shelves had nothing on them. You know? Like I said, they knew what didn't work. Now this is a Russian doll, but they had them in the Ukraine. Y'all know how these work. Take this off, and there's 5 more dolls inside here. Boy, it's intricate. It really is. But anyway, let me put this over here. 2 years later, I went to Romania, to a little town called Tuca. This is what they gave me on the way out. It was a little different format, but we took a bunch of people from a church in Baldwin at the time. The thing I really remember, we had Peggy Rowan, who was a school teacher, took vacation Bible school materials, and we were gonna have Bible school for 4 afternoons. The first day we passed out flyers and all this, and I think we had 20 show up, something like that. 4 days later, we had every kid in the village, 250. Isn't that something? The gypsies, y'all probably don't understand. In Romania, gypsies are kind of the lower socioeconomic bunch, and they, you know, they kind of cling together. If you get gypsies at something, you've done something. Every one of them showed up. It was remarkable. I did learn something. Do y'all remember the story about Abraham, when it was time for Isaac, his son, to get married, got a servant to go back to the old country and find a wife for Isaac? So he finally gets there, he goes to the well, and it dawns on him, how do I find her? So he prays, Lord, the first woman, and it was women who would come to the well, who comes, and I ask for water, and she says, I'll give you water and your 10 thirsty camels also. We don't quite grasp what that meant, because in Tulka, they had a common well for water. But the horse trough was way over there. And it hit me. You don't want a bunch of animals right by where the water comes out of the well, because animals do things you don't want done right by the well, right? So when she said, I'll water your camels also, you're probably talking an hour and a half to 2 hours, because she had to lug it way over there and pour it out and come back. Anyway, you just learn stuff like that on these trips. You do. Okay, let's see. We went to Africa. This is a picture of our daughter, Kiri. Now, I took all 3 of my daughters the summer after their 7th or the summer after their 8th grade year on a mission trip. Kiri went to Honduras, I think. She got out of college, she's a teacher, and after 2 years teaching, she decided to go with the International Mission Board to Senegal, which is in West Africa. This is one of her kids. They dropped her off with her partner. Her partner had been there a year. No language school or anything. She learned Wolof. Have you ever heard of Wolof? Senegal has 11 languages. Does that not blow your mind? Every tribe has its own language. And she learned it. We went there after she had been there a year, and like she waved down a taxi and bargained with her. In fact, the first taxi wanted $1, equivalent of $1. And she said, and we started walking home, and they did this little click sound with her tongue. She went back, we got it for 50 cents. And she knew it that well to do that. She told us a story. Man. Senegal is 95% Muslim, Something I did not know, all the French colonies are now Muslim because they saw their Christianity and said, I don't know what that is, but we don't want that. It's the British colonies that are primarily Christian. Now, Africa has like 50 million more Christians than America does. After all those years, it paid off. But obviously the Muslims are in Nigeria especially are trying to take over. But Carrie saw some people brought to the Lord. It got her in trouble. The village elders called her in and tried to intimidate her. I've never intimidated Carrie in my life. I don't think they did either. But she told us a story when she first got there. The partner she had was with another partner, and one night they heard some guys trying to break in, and so they locked all the doors and they got in the middle of the house. And they were not able to get in. They were coming to get them, kidnap them. Well, the people in the village where they were so identified with them. I mean, they're teaching their kids English. They're just doing a lot of things for them. They went and found those two guys and just beat them to death on the spot. They had a saying, if you get in trouble, you want the government authorities to get you, not the locals. Because the locals have no mercy. Anyway, probably the thing that stuck out to me most, we went to see her. They had a tree in the middle of town, about a 200-year-old tree. And there were all these little pieces of paper all around it. And I asked Carrie, what's that? She said, that's people praying. I said, what? I thought they were Muslim. This is a tree. She said, well, most of them don't see God as trying to help them. He's removed. He's up there. Y'all probably don't know, Christianity is the only major religion where the concept of God is, he will help you. Y'all don't know that. It's true. Buddhism, there is no God. You're just kind of floating, hoping to get nirvana. Allah, I'm sorry. Gosh, he's so far removed, you don't. You listen to him, but he doesn't listen to you. Have y'all ever been part of a conversation where they don't listen to you? Anyway, their concept was, we're going to go to this tree. Now, that's what they did before major religions came in. They went to that tree. Anyway, this is made out of ebony. It's an elephant. A lot of people, it's amazing how good they are because ebony is an extremely hard wood. But anyway, I've been to Kenya, Zambia. Gosh, one of the greatest trips I've been on in Zambia as far as what it did for me. They paired me up with a young pastor from Zimbabwe. Now Zimbabwe is next door, but it really got hit. They were all part of Rhodesia, and when they pulled out, Zimbabwe went communist, just boom. And it just got slammed. I mean, anyway. He was pastoring a church running about 250, probably one of the biggest in the country. And his wife died. And because his wife died, he had to take a much smaller church because he had 3 kids to raise. Anyway, he decided to take a week off and come be my partner. And he left the youngest 2 kids in charge of the 15-year-old daughter. And once a night, he would call her and see how it's going. Can y'all imagine being gone for a week and leaving your 15-year-old daughter in charge? Let me tell you, these people grow up quick in a lot of ways. They do. first morning, we went out on the streets Monday morning. Now, church was 3 hours. On the sign, it said, morning service, 10 to 1. I mean, they advertised 3-hour church right off the bat. Can you imagine in America advertising 3 hours? Advertising 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I've got a picture of it. Oh man, it was something. Anyway, that morning we went out. He took a translator. He didn't really need a translator. Anyway, 2 or 3 people. I took 2 or 3 with a translator. We came back. We seen 20 people pray to receive Jesus that morning. I was higher than a kite. Until I talked to him, he had 24. But humble. You know, to me, it's rare to see somebody humble but driven. And he had both. He did. Gosh. Anyway, yeah. How much more time?
We're not at the 3-hour mark. We got 2 more hours to go.
Okay. Let me talk about Venezuela. I went there, gosh, it's been 20 years ago now. Granada is the 3rd largest city in Venezuela. I don't know any other way to put it, but the communists had already taken over. It was not easy for us to get in. But we went to a bunch of churches. The church I was in had a guy in it who, when the president then was running, this guy supported the other guy. Now, if we ask, there's people in here that support the same people for anything. You see what I'm saying? But we get along. This guy, because he supported the other guy, the next day lost his job and has not been able to get another one since. I mean, that's pitiful, folks. Anyway, I mean, he mows grass, he does things under the radar to try to support his family. Anyway, we had a bunch of folks. Again, do y'all realize in Europe, the countries who have the most Christians are the former communist countries? Isn't that amazing? Because they know what doesn't work. They do. Romania, Ukraine, it's all those folks. Anyway, oh gosh, I will say this about Paraguay. They have, their national drink is tea. And what they do, they get weeds, they get all kind of stuff growing on the side of the road. And they'll put it in a pot and boil it, and then pour it into a thing like this. And I don't know if you can see the straw, it's metal, but down the bottom are little holes. And what you do, you stick it in and you suck it up, but the little holes keep all the weeds and stuff from getting in. So you're just drinking liquid. Now, when you ride, somebody's taking a break, you see a bunch of guys taking a break, they all got one of these and one of these. You don't see Cokes or anything like that. Everybody's doing it. Now, what's in that stuff?
That's what I'm saying. They probably don't know.
Let me talk to you about Cambodia, and I'll wrap it up.
Yes.
Cambodia was probably the saddest country too, because if you remember, some of y'all remember Vietnam and all that, after we left, the Khmer Rouge, which was communist, took over Cambodia. Well, Pol Pot was the guy's name. They had 8 billion people in Cambodia. He killed 1 million. And most of them, vast majority, they didn't shoot because they didn't want to waste a bullet. I'm serious. And everywhere there were people that would report on other people. And but a lot of times somebody just didn't like somebody. And they would take them out. Well, you can imagine, and if you were educated or had any money, they killed you. All right. Now, when I was there, they were coming back. And they've come back some more. But like, I bought this from a lady, out in the country where we were, they would make $40 a month. Isn't that beautiful? And they would hire them to work in factories for $40 a month. You know, you wonder, why can they make stuff cheaper and pay for the shipping over here? But if you're paying people $40 a month, but again, that's pitiful. It is. Anyway, this is a little artwork. People doing anything they can to make a buck, get by. A couple of things about it. My first trip, I'll just tell you, there were 25 of us, different churches, places. We saw 1,250 people pray to receive Jesus. But one thing our leader wanted to do is see, do these people mean business? The Mekong River, anybody remember the Mekong River Delta from Vietnam era? Mekong River ran through part of where we were. We went down and had a baptismal service, and we figured about 500 people could get there, that 1,200. I mean, some of them were just too far. 450 of them showed up, and we baptized them right there. Now, it cost them. Apparently, there was a guy, I went back 2 years later and found out there was a guy from the Cambodian government. Even then, it wasn't communist, but it was against the law to proselytize or anything like we were doing. And they lost their rice allotment. Now, what is that? 20%. Now, they eat rice. You want to lose weight? Get on a rice diet. Because you don't see any fat Cambodians. But that's about all they eat is rice. If they're fortunate, some meals they get a little meat put on top of it, but it's basically just rice. Well, what the government figured out, we'll give you 20% of what you eat in rice, but that way they can control you too. Well, all 450 lost their rice allotment for a year. But I never heard it, that second time, I never heard the first person complain about it. Sure did. I tell you what, all these trips have taught me, I'll sum it up. Okay. I've seen happy people everywhere I've gone. Some of them make $40 an hour. Now, not everybody's happy. Not everybody's happy here. But it reminds me, it's what's on the inside that counts. Really is true. It really is. And that's what these people, the ones I worked with, have. Really is. Okay, real quick, any questions?
Well, what about in Africa? What part of Africa are they killing Christians? What
Right.
is that about?
Sub-Saharan now, which is just below the Sahara. And that's where the Christians and the Muslims kind of meet. Y'all do know it's in the Quran. I'm not just feeding you bull. It's in the Quran to kill any infidels. That's anybody who's not Muslim. Just kill them. I mean, Muhammad did that. And so that's where that comes from. They keep talking about let's sit down and talk. Y'all ever had anybody you couldn't sit down and talk with? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There are people you just can't sit down and talk with. But it's sub-Saharan. Northern part of Nigeria, but you can almost draw a line. They call it sub-Saharan. That means right below the Sahara. Draw a line straight across. That's pretty much it.
What do you think about the invasion of Muslims in the United States now? Being so prevalent.
What do I think?
Yeah.
Okay, she asked me what I think. You know, I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna tell you what I think. They do have a master plan to take over the world. They do. I mean, when you go to these places, they will tell you. China does too. Oh my goodness. I went to Panama. You do know China runs the Panama Canal. I did not know that until I
Scary,
went.
yeah.
They own every grocery store in Panama. I mean, they sit out and they own every grocery store in Panama.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't go to one except it's Chinese people. And I asked my translator, I said, why are the Chinese in the grocery business? He said they want to control us. I mean, it's amazing what's out there that we kind of are oblivious to
Yeah.
sometimes.
You were talking about the school in Brazil.
Yeah.
Did the same teacher teach all the different levels?
Are you a teacher?
Yes.
No, they bring different teachers. I can't imagine going from 8 to 10. Oh my goodness.
Did you drink the tea?
But I got real tea. I'm serious, there's no telling when you see a bunch of guys on a construction trip out there taking a break,
Yeah.
I did not drink that. But in a restaurant, I did. Yeah, but it was real tea. It's kinda like Coke here in the South. When you say I want a Coke, you can get a root beer, you can get nothing what. And that's, when they say tea, you don't know what you get.
It's not sweet tea with ice.
No.
I would say no. Well, what about communism
What
in
about it?
sneaking into the US? Such as.
What do I think?
Yes.
It's here.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
I've been a lot of places and I've yet to see it work. I've seen it take countries down. You cannot tell me one country where communism went and they got better. They all get worse. And the reason is real simple. That you have, on paper, communism looks good. You know what I mean? It's everybody, all this. It's shared. I just remember one of my daughters looking at me one day saying, Dad, if you say that word one more time. But what happens is you get people in power and there's really no accountability. And that's what gets it. There's no accountability. And so, Now, I remember Khrushchev, I'm old, taking his shoe off at the UN in 1959, banging it on the podium and saying, we will overcome America without firing one shot. I remember that.
I think communism is, I don't think communism.
It's been a long time. No, but it's not just communism, they're all kind of
Socialism is the
forces.
same way.
Well, they're all Marxist.
Yeah.
Y'all do know Marx had 2 daughters, both committed suicide. He lived off his wife. He got kicked out of an apartment because he was sloppy, bad sloppy. I mean, he's got all this, and we want to follow that. I don't know. You're asking me.
Yeah.
Of course, I've read. When I went to seminary, we had to read a bunch of stuff. Anyway, but going on these trips, there's always been somebody trying to take over something since mankind started. Sure have. That's why I don't talk politics a lot. I really don't. Like who I vote for, I tell my wife, nobody else. Because it really doesn't matter. But that's why I worship Jesus. Because I honestly believe he can change a heart. All these other things cannot change a heart. They can change behavior, but they can't change a heart. So that's where I come from. Anyway, well, thank you all. I went over time.
No,
This is
that's
like
perfect.
3:30.